Hello, everyone. I hope you're comfortable. I'm very nervous. And I might make this a little uncomfortable to some of you, maybe even quite uncomfortable or very uncomfortable, and I'll give it my best shot. So let's do this, shall we? I am only here because I'm richer than you. Thank you very much. No. I was born into a family that owns a fortune from pharma industries. I was told I was going to inherit a large sum, become a multimillionaire, and I should have been grateful and happy. And I was angry and frustrated because becoming an HNWI, a high net worth individual, meant that I could no longer ignore the systemic problem underlying it. Also, high net worth. We see money really influences our hierarchy in society. I prefer high net wealth individual. And that's what I'm going to be talking about, net wealth. Not income, not debt. In my case, my fortune means that my money is more than just its performance of covering the cost of living. It becomes mere potential. What a privilege, right? Well, privileges are not rights. At least not in a democracy where we agree that we're equal before the law, where we ditch the idea that there's some kind of genetic supremacy, birth privilege to rule, such as aristocracy or monarchy suggest. We needed to level the playing field because nature's unfair. We're not naturally born equal. Some are shorter, taller. Some are faster, kinder, smarter, craftier. Some are black, some are white, people of color. Some are men, women, or any gender in between. Privilege. What is humanity really about? It's a creative lottery of whatever fit best with the surrounding. It's an evolutionary chain of coincidence that got us here. Our species is what stuck. What is humanity about? If it's not about strength and fitness as we think nowadays. I mean, what use is a six-pack if you're alone? It's about relationships. It's about working together, creating bonds, trusting each other, passing on the wisdom of what we know and that we care. Well, relationships, the tricky stuff, the gooey stuff. Without it, nothing works, really. No family, no friends, no businesses, no partners, no football team, no community, no society, no money. Unless we agree on relationships, we can't agree on money. And how money is distributed in relationships really reflects how power is distributed in society. And think about it, money is an interesting thing. It's a social and a legal construct. Unless you have a state to back it up, there is no such thing. You can't write a number on a piece of paper and go pay your bills. I dare you try. But what is the state behind it? Well, it's us, agreeing on a specific set of rules to manage this living together. It's the story we tell ourselves, essentially. And in excess of these numbers that we trade back and forth becomes an excess of power. So its distribution matters. Money is a story we tell ourselves. Credit is the Latin word for he, she, it believes. Well, we believe that with a piece of plastic or paper or metal, we can take care of the cost of living. That's powerful stuff. It's problematic when it's not used wisely, because money itself is not good or bad. It reflects how we organize each other. It's privilege also to hold an excess of it. But who am I to talk? I'm 30 years old, I'm white, I have access to wealth and power, I'm class privileged, here I stand, born in the middle of Europe, talking about privilege, an HNW individual. So let's talk about HNW data. According to the Global World Inequality Report of 2022, this is how we share. 50% of the world own 2% of wealth. Not only does it imply that the other 50% own 98% of wealth, it gets worse because 10% of people own 76% of wealth, and at the very top, we concentrate 38% with just 1% of the world population. That's roughly 51 million people. Have you ever thought about this and where you stand in this? Because according to this data, as soon as you own at least 807,300 euros of net wealth, you're part of the top 1%. That's right. You don't even have to be a millionaire to be among the richest percent of the world. This data is crucial, but it's also incomplete because it relies on surveys, on face-to-face interviews with HNWIs. And they tend to not be wealth transparent. Actually, even a 0% wealth tax would enforce collecting data that then can give us a quality input of how we distribute wealth, land, and power. So what now? How can we do this? We have to believe in a story of society. We have to believe in doing this together. We have to ditch the idea of privilege. We have to go democracy all the way. We have to make sure that we realize when I'm here, I'm standing in front of you, talking as one of the so-called super rich. There's nothing super about us. It's a narrative we need to drop. Instead, we need to turn to democracy and to the fact that paying taxes is the most democratic move we can make. Paying taxes can get us out of moneytocracy and back into an actually equal democratic structure. I know the governments do horrible things, but in a democracy, at least we can hold them accountable. We have access to them. We need to use this access. It can't be that the only thing we do not tax is big money. It's not just unfair, it's undemocratic. We need to deal with this, and it's going to be rough, and it's going to take a lot of figuring it out among ourselves, how we tax wealth. And I'm here telling you all this, and it's really easy, right? Coming from my background. But I believe in democracy. I believe in freedom, as Hannah Arendt and Albert Camus define it, as the duty of working together, realizing you have to see eye to eye. You don't get what you want just because you want it. That would be liberation, but that's a privilege as well. And unless everybody is privileged, which means nobody is privileged, that's unfair. Freedom requires equality, politically and financially. To prove my point, I have chosen the most boring and least sexy topic of them all, which is taxation. It got me on a TEDx stage. Let's talk about tax, baby. Let's tax you and me. I advocate for tax justice because I need society to claim back power over the public resource that is money. At the moment, my fantasies can overrule public interest just because I'm wealthy. You can hold governments accountable, but not multimillionaires. And I'm telling you, the money is there. We super rich could have saved the world had we wanted to. We have the money, we can afford it, but we don't. And guess what? It's even worse because it's not our job. It's not one person's job, it's not 1%'s job, it's not one group's job. It's our collective duty and responsibility to each other. A shitload of work. And yes, in a Marvel movie, you can wait for a billionaire in a shiny armor with a magic glove and gemstones on it, snapping his fingers, and the world is saved. But in the real world, we have complex crises. We have even messier relationships if it's not structural, just individually. We have a state that reflects the way we discriminate each other. But it also shows how far we have come. We have a welfare state because we ditched the idea that the state is only there to protect us. It's also there to take care of us. No matter how lucky you were born or how rich. Just because we believe in this idea, this story of equality in rights to a life of dignity and freedom. Freedom of equals. I was called naive for believing in the structures in the state. I don't do it blindly, but I trust people. I have faith in everybody as a human being. I really do. Becoming human was dumb luck. Being human is a fucking chore. It means that we have to get together and fix this. It means that we have to realize that we must tax big money. It means that we have to dream big and tell ourselves a story that gets us together. And doesn't exclude, and doesn't divide. It's in our best interest, really. I know my fair share of interest rates. So what now? I say, let's dream together. You still comfortable? Well, guess what? Comfort kills creativity. So much for dreaming, right? I think leaving the comfort zone really is the only way to save it. Money is a powerful tool, not good or bad, mirroring back to us how we interact. There's this narrative with wealth, protect and grow, which means hoarding. But just as you can't hoard security and freedom, they only grow when you share them. Let's use this narrative and apply it on democracy. It's the only heritage worth protecting and growing. That's a story we could tell ourselves. Money, everything, is a story we tell ourselves. Why not this way? And with money, it's such a powerful one. Taxation is sharing that power. Redistribution is sharing back. You could say, democratically taxing money is an idea worth spreading. Thank you very much.